All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Money Down Pod. That is my guy, Shawn White. Give him a follow at Dumpster Fire Fan. Myself at Kayvon_sports. At the Money Down Pod on Twitter. At Money Down Pod on Twitter if you want to reach out to us or follow anything going on the Twitter page. Thank you for tuning in on this lovely, lovely day. However you're watching, wherever, whenever. We appreciate you for tuning in as we break down the NBA draft, which is 2 days away. Crazy. The NBA season ended. Now the draft is here. This is going to be a great show because we're bringing in our own thoughts as well as a lot of stuff that I have been hearing throughout the NBA landscape. Again, for those that are just tuning in for the first time, I did work in the NBA for a couple years. I know some people, talked to them, and we're kind of going to put together some of the stuff that we've heard with our own thoughts as we give our final take on some of the top prospects in the NBA draft. Then we'll go over the Warriors winning the championship to kind of wrap up the show. And then to absolutely end it, we obviously have to talk about Kyrie Irving. And you're going to hear two completely different perspectives on this one. It will be interesting from what Shawn sees in this situation and what I see in this situation. So you're not going to want to miss that. As always, tweet us out your thoughts or leave us a comment if you're watching on YouTube, and we will always answer as we do. So thank you. Shawn, how you doing, man? You excited for the NBA draft?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm super excited for it. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I want to say Happy Father's Day to all fathers out
Good
there
job.
doing all that. If everybody followed my Twitter, I put out some picks for the U.S. Open. Man, I had three going in the top eight and going into Sunday, and Zalatoris just couldn't close it out for me. But I mean that's what's tough about golf bets, man. You have I had Burns, Keegan Bradley, Zalatoris all in the top eight, and they were all in contention and still just couldn't hit on that. That's what makes it tough about golf bets. And I'll keep putting them out there for y'all. It's just a fun sport to bet on for sure. But yeah, if anyone was watching that, I feel bad for them. Anybody that had Fitzpatrick, I feel good for. But yeah, I'd love to talk about this NBA draft coming up.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you brought that up because Shawn, as those that have followed us for a while know, Shawn does really well with those bets. And Keegan Bradley, like Zalatoris, still impressive that you picked him, but he was somewhat of a favorite. I didn't see Keegan Bradley coming at all. He was right there for the end of it. Burns was great. I mean, literally that putt on 18, bro. I followed your picks, so I was tailing those and I was hoping for it, but you've gave me much more winners than losers. So we're still riding high. Keep following Shawn at Dumpster Fire Fan for those as the golf season keeps going. Shawn, let's get into this, man. So we did a pod a couple weeks ago where we broke down some of the top prospects in the draft, and we agreed on most of them. I gave you guys kind of a wacky order from what the normal order is out there in terms of the prospects that I like, and I haven't changed that order much. There is one player that I am jumping up based off of more film that I've watched and based off of the information that I've garnered. People are in love with this guy, Shawn. And when I mean people, I'm talking about analysts, I'm talking about scouts, I'm talking about people all over the league are very, very high on Paolo Banchero. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, of course, he's Paolo Banchero. He's a top 3 prospect. But the thing is, before all this started, Banchero was set to go number 3. That was kind of it. We are now looking like Banchero could very well go number 1. Now, listen, this could be smoke. The Chet or Jabari could still go number 1, but when you hear from this many people this high on one person, usually it's legit. Is it legit enough for him to go number 1? I don't know, but Paolo Banchero, I had to go back and watch him, and I understand why people are falling for him very hard. 6'10", 250 pounds. He is the perfect player for today's game in terms of positionless basketball. He can play with his back to the basket. He can also play a point guard type of game. Like, he has the handles to take the ball up. He has the interior scoring. He can shoot the 3. Not as consistently as I would like him to. That's one thing he's really got to work on. If he can get that consistent 3 ball down, he will be extremely scary. And he's a playmaker. For a 6'10 player, 250 pounds, to be able to be a playmaker, that right there is why I think people love him, and the fact that he will be a versatile defender, can guard 1 through 5, and a lot of people, Shawn, might like to use him as kind of like what the Warriors do, where they put him at the 5 spot. Like that's what I honestly think some people are thinking that they could do with him, because he's big, he's strong, he's versatile, he can step out, he can go inside. That is why, in my opinion, I think he's jumped so high, and I understand why. I still have questions. I still am not in love with him, but I do get it, and he is now my number 1 prospect as we head into the draft 2 days away.
Yeah, you weren't very high on Banchero at all last pod we did talking about this. And I understood your reasoning behind that. I've always kind of considered him more of a Carmelo Anthony clone, like not really as quite as good as Carmelo coming out. Because I mean, people sleep on how good Carmelo was early in his career now. He's been in the league for so long that you just see him kind of decline and be a bench player now. But when he was with the Nuggets those first few years, Carmelo was one of the best, if not the best scorer in the league before Durant came in and started doing that. From a one-on-one perspective, he could hit from everywhere. And I definitely see Banchero having a little bit of that from him, especially from the elbow. An elbow-type player, you give him the ball, top of the key. I also love what you're talking about, positionless basketball. Really, if you plug him in from the 3, 4, or 5, he can play any of those positions, and you can run kind of any lineup you want with him there. And he would be a big 3, and he'd be an excellent small ball 5. So he does have that ability to do all that. He has the ability to switch out onto all these other smaller players. Maybe not a point guard, because point guards are crazy like that. It's really hard to be able to switch 1 through 5. But I could definitely see him doing 2 through 5 on some of the bigger guards out there. The other thing is one-on-one basketball playing. ISO him. He's probably the best right now out of the prospects we have. Just as an ISO scorer, if you need a bucket late in the shot clock, you can give it to him. He can go make something happen, and it'd be a quality look, which is something you're looking for. I think he fits well with most every team except for maybe Orlando. But me and you, we'll talk about this a little later. We don't really know who fits with Orlando, to be honest. They just have a weird kind of roster. But I do think he'd fit well with OKC or with Houston. And you put this on Twitter out there too to bring it up. Vegas's odds have changed a lot for him going number 1. He was a long shot, and now he's actually more of the plus 400 range, which is moving up there for the prospect things. We saw that happen in the NFL draft all of a sudden when Trayvon Walker jumped up, and then he ended up going 1. So something to watch for would be, I believe you said maybe a trade up to 1 would be something to watch for. I don't know if the Magic do it, but Banchero could be the first one to get his name called for sure on Thursday.
No doubt about it. And I think that if it is a trade up, it's going to be Houston. Houston is in love. From everything that's out there, Houston is in love with Banchero, which we talked about this before the show, and you mentioned it. You said he would be perfect for their roster, and I agree, man. You put him out there with Jalen Green. They've got Alfred Sengun. I can't pronounce his name well enough, but he's an up-and-coming center that I like. You can play those two down low together. Jalen Green's a great scorer. You got Porter Jr. I like him a lot with Houston. I think that's why Houston loves him. I would not be shocked if Houston jumped up to 1 to get him. But just everything you said is spot on. Banchero is an all-around player, a versatile positionless, and you guys are going to hear that word because it's so key in today's basketball. He is a positionless player, like Shawn said, that can switch in and out, feel for the game, all that stuff. Again, I still worry because I do think if things don't go well, say he goes to a team, this is something I really want to hit on. All of these prospects here have flaws, okay? This isn't with LeBron coming in. This isn't KD coming in. All of these prospects have flaws, and it's so important where they go to be developed. And if they go to a spot where they aren't going to get developed, things could go wrong. And there is a chance that Banchero could become a Julius Randle, which is what I equated him to the first time we had this pod. And I still see that in his game. That I see it a lot, but I also see the upside. I totally see the upside. I think he's a better defender. I think he's an outstanding rebounder. And I think he's a better playmaker with a better jump shot than Julius Randle, which is why he has the upside. But all of that stuff has to be developed. We'll see if it happens. Moving to my number 2 guy, Jabari Smith. I love Jabari Smith. I've loved him from day one. Jabari, to me, really is like, he's this hard worker player with an unblockable jump shot. He is like, and I'm not saying he's as good as Kevin Durant, because that's ridiculous, but he has that type of length and shot where Kevin Durant has, where it is really hard to block. Like really being 6'10", 6'10", and 210 pounds as a freshman coming in, that shot is almost impossible to block of his. He's an elite versatile defender. And he is, to me, the safe pick in this draft because I think he is going to be good. I think he's going to be very good. Will he be great? Very good chance. Will he be bad? A very low chance. I think no matter what, he is going to be a very good player. And that's why I think OKC loves him. I think the Magic like him. I think a lot of teams like him. He is my number 2 player. Very, very easily could be number 1. I love Jabari Smith.
Yeah, Jabari's my number 1 player, and it's because of the safe value you said, but he also has a very high upside. I do believe he could definitely come into the league and get some moves, really develop some sort of offensive game with some better ball handling and work like that. And as he gets stronger, he can develop a little bit of post-game turnaround shots because it's going to be unblockable, like you said. Yeah. But right now, he could come in and he'll be an elite jump shooter from 3, from mid-range, all of that. He'd be an elite jump shooter right now on any team he goes to. And as good as the fit that Banchero would be with the Rockets, because I feel like Banchero would be on the elbow and out of Porter Jr. and Green's way where they like to play, they'd stay away from each other. Jabari would be a bad fit, in my opinion, with the Rockets because he would be in the way, but he'd be a perfect fit for OKC, like you said.
Yes.
Because if you give Jabari, who played with terrible guard play at Auburn, it drove me crazy watching him on Saturdays because they just never got him the ball in spots to succeed. They always got it to him late in the shot clock and tried to make him create. You'd be going to OKC with one of the already better passers in the league in Josh Giddey, even though he's in his second year. Very good passer. And their 2 is really a 1 in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So they both would play where they can set up Jabari at any time in any spot you need him to go to. I think that's the perfect fit for him. I also think he'd do well really anywhere he goes, just because you can pass him the ball and he's going to shoot well. He's going to automatically come in and be a good shooter. I like Jabari a lot for that. I think he's going to be a great prospect. And he's going to go 1 or 2 right there in that range, in my opinion. 3 is his bottom. I do think it's going to be 1 or 2 for him.
I think your point on Houston is so crucial. It goes back to what I said about going to the right spot is so important. You're right. I'm not saying he would be a bust in Houston. It just, the fit is very odd. Right now, something that he really needs to work on is he doesn't have a very good handle. Like he's not, and look, he's 6'10". Like we see some of these guys that are so big that are good at handles. We kind of take advantage of it. It's hard to have a good handle at 6'10". He doesn't have a great handle, and that's why he needs someone like Shai who can just get him the ball. Because if you get him the ball, he can put it up and he can score. And he can score very, very well. And he's athletic enough to get that good handle. It's just got to, it needs to be in the right situation. He needs to develop. 100% with you on that. Some comps that I have of him, I think Michael Porter Jr., but higher ceiling. Like I really see that type of comparison there. They're both very athletic. They both can defend. They both can shoot well, and he's a little bit bigger. That's kind of what I see there in Jabari Smith.
Yeah, he's what MPJ would be if the medicals were clean coming out.
Yes.
Because the only reason MPJ fell was because his medicals were so bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just missed last year with another back injury, and hopefully he's back this year. But that's what it is. That was all medical. So that's exactly right. That's the perfect comp.
No doubt about it. A great point on that. Moving to my number 3 guy. And look, this part is really tough for me. This is where I'm going to get so much criticism because it's just people are sitting there saying, where's Chet? Where's Chet? Chet's not my number 3. And to be honest with you, I really had a hard time putting who I wanted to be at number 3. I gave Shaden Sharp the edge here over Jaden Ivy. That's right. It's Shaden Sharp and Jaden Ivy, not Chet. That's who I'm debating here for 3. And I gave it to Shaden Sharp because I think defensively, actually I know defensively, he is way, way, way better. Right now, offensively, Jaden Ivey's the much better offensive player. Much better. Shaden Sharp, defensively, has the length, the athleticism, and the sure-out hustle in him to be a Paul George type defender, perimeter type defender. And the reason why he's number 3, Shawn, is to me, this is the most coveted position in the NBA right now. Having that two-way wing type player. To me, that is what NBA teams want so bad. That can shoot the three and that can play phenomenal defense. And then you add on top of that a guy who has phenomenal athleticism, who can play on-ball defense, switching all that stuff, has great ball handling, can go to the rim and step out and shoot the three. You add all that together with a guy that's 19 years old, 6'5", 198 pounds. To me, Shaden Sharp is the jewel of this draft. And what I mean by that is you go out there and you get this jewel that is not fully polished yet. But if you polish this jewel right, and if you take care of this jewel, this thing is going to make you a lot of money. A lot of money. And that is who Shaden Sharp is to me. I love Shaden Sharp as the prospect. There is some worrisome because he didn't play in college. Remember, he was committed to Kentucky. He never actually played. So we're just going off a high school tape, which is worrisome. And I understand that. But again, his physical attributes, his athleticism, his wing defense, his ability to shoot the shot, the perimeter shot now, as well as get to the rim, all check everything off to me to make him the number 3 prospect for me.
Yeah, so he's not my number 3, he's my number 5, but that's, again, I'm going to be real with you. I wasn't an NBA scout, so it is a little hard for me to watch high school and just be able to judge someone that way. What I can tell you from judging him and watching him is he can flat out shoot. His stroke is pure. He can flat out shoot from about any range there is. I'm not concerned about that at all in the NBA. And he does have the length and foot speed to defend. So that is another thing that you would look for, being able to switch on some of these pick and rolls and everything like that. So that is another good thing. I do think he's a plus athlete. I think he can play. Again, it's just not seeing him in college is a little worrisome because sometimes I struggle with the competition aspect of it, being able to judge kids from
that level. Fair. Very fair.
He's just better than everyone he's playing at that level because he's that type of prospect. Here's the thing. I want Shaden Sharp at 4 to the Kings as a Kings fan. That's what I would like. I don't know if they go that way, but he's definitely one of the bigger boom or bust prospects in this draft because you really don't know what you're getting, and you really do need to develop him as a player. But I love his offensive game. I heard some of the more popular people compare him to Anthony Edwards on offense. I could definitely see that because I could see him just heating up and being a microwave, scoring 40 at will sometimes, and then other times maybe he's a little off. But at the same, that's what you're looking for right now. You're looking for a perimeter defender with length who can also go down and score at every level, and I think he can do that. So he's a great prospect in my opinion. He's my number 5 guy. He's who I want to go to the Kings, but he's going to be an interesting one where he ends up because OKC really loves him. You could see him maybe going 2 to OKC sometimes because Presti's out there, man. Presti will do whatever. Those Westbrook and Harden picks weren't consensus picks at all going in. Presti could take him at 2. He could fall all the way to 8. You never know where he's going. Yep. He's going to be somewhere in that range, and I think he's either going to be the best or second best player in this draft class, or it could just be a complete bust. He's definitely hit and miss in that aspect,
without doubt. And you're spot on with what you said there, which is things that should worry you. And you're right. That's why I use that Jewel example, because if it's not used right, if it's not like taken care of right, it could be a big issue. I'm so glad you brought up OKC. OKC could take him at number 2. Also, OKC has another pick in the lottery. They could trade up to maybe you guys at 4, 5 if he slips past that. They could trade up and take him again. I would seriously watch out for OKC because just like Shawn said, look, Harden, Westbrook, those guys were phenomenal once they got in the league. They were not coveted. They were going to go in the lottery, but they were kind of wild card picks. They went a little bit higher than they thought. And that's how, and Presti has all the credibility to do that.
Presti's not going nowhere. Like he's going to be there. He can do stuff like this.
No, exactly. He can because that's his job. He is safe without a doubt for what he's done in Oklahoma City. So there's no doubt about that. Moving to my number 4 guy here. And again, it's going to bring some crap. I'm sorry. This is just how I do it. It's Jaden Ivy. It's Jaden Ivy. I love Jaden Ivy. I could have put Jaden Ivy over Shaden Sharp here. I definitely could have. But this is my thing with Jaden Ivy. And again, the reason why I didn't put him over it is because I like Jaden's defense better, but Jaden's offense right now is better because he played a year in college. He knows how to score in college, and he scored in college. Let me tell you, athletic, ball handling, perimeter shooter, interior scoring, all that. He is a powerful guard with an elite first step. I'm talking he's in front of you. Next thing you know, he's behind you and he's dunking on the rim. Like, that is what this kind of guy is. He has an electric shot making ability, and I could see come in and be a impact player from day one. When you see some guys maybe that go 1, 2, or 3 that are struggling a little bit just because they're more of a higher ceiling guy, I think Jaden could come in and average 18 points his rookie year, 19 points his rookie year. I could see that type of thing, especially if he goes to a team where someone also is there to help get him the ball, even though he can handle the ball himself. But if he went to the Kings, De'Aaron Fox and him a duo, Cade Cunningham and him a duo in Detroit, I like that type of duo there. To me, he reminds me of Donovan Mitchell. He reminds me of Darius Garland. He reminds me of those type of players. Really good outside shot, really quick first step, a playmaker. He could be better with the playmaker aspect. He could be a little bit better of a passer, but he has that step back game in him that just scouts and GMs love and fans love to watch. You know, that step back, just wow, what did he just do? He just made a guy look silly. That's the type of thing. He's an intoxicating player. He's a must-watch player. I love Jaden Ivy.
Yeah, I like Ivy a lot too. And here's the thing with Ivy, and I want to ask you this question because you have sources around the league that you talk to and everything like that. If it wasn't for kind of the fits in the top 3, like the Magic just took Suggs, and then you have Gideon Gilgeous-Alexander with OKC, and even though the Rockets kind of don't, they have Porter Jr., they don't really have a point like that, but they're just kind of obsessed with Banchero. If it wasn't for the fits up at the top, would Ivy be talking about more as in the top 3 that these other players are? Or do you think that that the other players just feel consensus better than him on most people's drafts except for yours?
I think it's a great question. I think the fit has a lot to do with it. I think that's what it is. I think that they just, like you said, Suggs. They also have Cole Anthony Jr. For the Magic. They have Markelle Fultz. They're not going to take a guy like that. Neither are the Thunder because of Shea. I think fit has a huge part of it. I also think that, and we talked about this in the first pod, I think that sometimes these GMs get lost in their way with upside. And they see guys like Jabari Smith and Banchero and Chet, and they see how big they are. They're big, they can shoot, they can play defense, and they get lost in that upside, and they let guys like Donovan Mitchell fall down to number 8 overall. They let guys like Darius Garland, even though he went 4, he really could have gone higher. They let guys like Jaden Ivy, who are ready to come in and play now and are ready to just be an impact player now, they let him slip because they're not looking at his upside. They're just looking about who he is, when really this guy has just as much upside as anybody else. He just doesn't have that size and that length. And that's what I think these GMs fall in love with. So it's that plus I think the fit as well.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I was going to key on, because he's actually like the guard that most GMs love and like a lot of teams have, that's the lead guy. You mentioned Garland. You mentioned Donovan Mitchell. I would mention Jamal Murray. He has a little bit of that in his game, especially how that is. You can see the speed to get past people. You could see him do a pull-up floater game in the middle, and then he obviously has to step back from deep. So Ivy is a very intriguing prospect to me, and I find it weird he's not thrown into the top 3 group. He's always just the consensus 4 guy for all these like national media people. And it makes me wonder, because all of the trade rumors you hear are everyone trying to come up to 4 because they don't feel the Kings fit works. Mm-hmm. But you see, it's probably like, 6 teams trying to get up to 4 to get him? I mean, we've heard rumors that Memphis wants to get up and get him. Like, it's not going to happen because they're not going to be able to put together a package for it. But they've talked about Memphis trying to get up and get him. And I find it weird that the Knicks, a team like that, would want to get up and get him as well. No one's trying to get up and get the top 3 guys into those top 3 picks, which you find weird. but they all want to get to 4 and try to get Ivy. So that's what I find strange about how consensus the top 3 dudes are the top 3 dudes, but everyone's trying to trade up and get the 4th guy. So that's a little strange to me as well, because I do think he's what you want in a lead guard right now in the NBA. He's basically what all the players are. So I can see him being one that would end up outperforming a lot of these top 3 dudes. Maybe not all of them. Maybe one will be better. But you're really taking a risk picking that one guy and hoping that's the guy that outperforms him if you're in the top 3 like that.
I think that's a phenomenal point. I like that. I think that's a question that I really don't understand why isn't being asked enough. Because you're right. Teams are trying to come up and get this guy like no other, man, but it's all starting at 4. And I don't know, is there smoke screens about it? I just think it goes back to this crazy enamor with these GMs and these big guys, man. Look, I get it. Like, they could be great, man. Chet could be a freaking dinosaur out there. Like Jabari Smith, if he gets that handle down, he could be KD. Who knows? Like, who really knows? To me, that's why I've done well at kind of picking some of these later lottery round guys to be good, because I like looking at guys like that. I think it's a phenomenal question. I don't get it, but whoever does take him at 4 or 5 is going to be a really, really happy team at the end of the day, because he's going to be a great player. All right, let me get to my next player here who everybody loves, and that's Chet. Look, this is gonna. I mean, you probably won't hear a podcast that has him this low, and it's gonna sound disrespectful to have him this low. I just have a ton of issues with his physicality, man. Like, these are the things I know about Chet that are going to be good. He's a great shot blocker. I know he will be a good shot blocker in the NBA. I know he will be a good defender in the NBA. I know that. Like, I know if I put him in the NBA tomorrow, he might not be great right away because he's got to get some strength. Right now, he's going to get destroyed off the block. A lot of people compare him to Rudy Gobert, like me. But the thing that people forget about Rudy Gobert's strong, man. He doesn't look that strong, but he's strong. He holds his way down there. Chet could easily become Rudy Gobert with a better offensive game. And if that's the case, then I'm going to say I should have had him higher. And I'm prepared to be wrong about this. Again, I don't think he's going to be a bust by any means. I just don't think he's going to be this unicorn that everybody is talking about it. I worry about him standing upright. I worry about him staying healthy. I don't think his outside shot is as great as everybody says. It's very inconsistent. Can he shoot outside? Yes, he can. He definitely can. He's got to develop it more, though. He has to go to a team that is going to develop him. But right now, he can play off-ball defense like no other. He has versatile feet. He's quick feet. He can move on the defensive end. He can play the pick and roll, pick and pop type thing on offense. And he can shoot the 3 ball standing there as well. And he does have handles. Now, some people are acting like he has handles, like he can bring it up the court all the time. That's not it. He doesn't have that good of handles, but he does have handles. I just have questions. It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly how to elaborate on that. It's one of those things where I have questions about Chet, and I need to watch before I say what else.
Yeah, the strength is a big issue for me. That's my biggest concern, is because he does have good handles, not like outstanding, like you said, but he has good enough handles to be able to get by someone that's slower than him. But the thing is, when he gets by, he might get bumped off his spot a little bit. I worry about him not being able to be under control in a situation like that. He needs to get some strength up to be able to get past people like that and really make a sound basketball play at the rim. His shot is solid. He's got a good stroke. It's just inconsistent, like you said. So that's something he's going to have to work on. He needs to go somewhere with a really good point guard, in my opinion.
Yes.
He needs to go.
Yes.
I know I keep saying OKC is a good fit for a lot of people, but the reason why OKC is a good fit for a lot of people is Giddey and Gilgeous-Alexander can both pass. So if they have big dudes, I think it's funny. They have all the smoke with Ivy, but I'm like, you already have 2 guards that are really good at passing. So that's what throws me off with OKC. But that's why all these wings and big men fit well with OKC, because they can pass and set them up. That's what Chet really needs. Chet and Jabari both really need that, but Chet's going to be an elite defender from day one, I do believe, like you said. He's going to be an off-the-ball shot blocker. Think Jaren Jackson Jr. with Memphis. Think how Robert Williams, Time Lord, does with the Celtics. If you get a guy that can body someone up and wall them up at the power forward position, you can have Chet coming over and just erase shots constantly on drives that mess up. I love that part of his game. It's just the offense. He's got such a high upside, but he's going to need a lot of development. And I don't know if there's a lot of teams out there that just can develop a guy like that and their GM and coach stay on for long enough. So that's one thing that concerns me about Chet as well. That is definitely something to watch for. He's going to go a lot higher than you have him ranked, but that ranking could definitely end up being the truth out of the group.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Development is so key. You're right about the defense and all that. Like, just he struggles really hard to get deep positioning, and that's in college. And what I mean by deep positioning, like he struggles to position himself for all those out there, like near the basket. Like he struggles to post up near the basket. And I promise you, watch this right away. Teams will put smaller players on him to start. They're not going to feel like they got to put their center on him. They'll put smaller players on him to see, can he really make the play? Can he really do a post-up move? And they'll mismatch it to see if they can have that mismatch. And until he proves them that he can, that they're going to keep doing that. And that's going to be his issue moving forward. But those are definitely like my 5 guys that I really just think are better than everyone else. The next guy, which I do think is close, is Keegan Murray. I like Keegan Murray. I think Keegan Murray's a very safe pick. Like, I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be good. Like, I really do. I think he could be like a 10-year NBA player. He's just not going to be like an all-star type player. And he shoots, I think he shoots, like I have it here, 38% from 3 last year. He's a skilled scorer. He can pick and pop. He can run off offenses all day long. He isn't like an ankle breaker where he's going to break you with his dribble or anything like that. He's just someone, you throw him the ball, he can shoot it. He will out-hustle you. He'll play decent defense. He's the next notch below for me. I don't know how much you've watched of Keegan Murray, but that's kind of like my next guy.
Okay, how do you like this comparison for Keegan Murray? On offense, Mikhail Bridges.
Yeah, wow, I actually think that's a great comparison.
That's who I see when I watch him play offense.
Yeah.
Corner 3, elite. My pull up off the wing, elite. He's got some length on him. He can drive all the way to the rim, but don't make him pull up and do anything like that after he takes the dribble. It's either all the way or a 3, and don't make him facilitate because he's not that great of a facilitator. That's what I see on offense. Now, defensively, I think it's completely different leagues. Bridges is going to be miles ahead. Bridges is one of the best defensive players in the league. But on offense, I feel like Keegan Murray's kind of like a Mikhail Bridges type player. My favorite player in the later rounds, because you have me watch a lot of them, I just want to say my favorite. It's Mathurin. I think he's going to score.
Love it.
I think Mathurin's going to score wherever he goes.
Love it. So
like you're going to see him go like probably 8 to 12, something like that.
Yep.
And he's just going to be a freaking microwave wherever he goes. Like you're going to be like, how's this guy scoring 22 in year 2? And it's because he can shoot. He can shoot and he can drive. He has moves. I like Ben Mathurin's game a lot. He's a tough kid. I like how he plays. He's my favorite. Let me give you the one I worry about. I don't really love AJ Griffin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually really, and this is we're in North Carolina. Well, I am. You're about to be back in North Carolina for our neck of the woods. Hornets fans should be worried out of their mind because the Hornets need a center really bad, and AJ Griffin is projected to go in that range. I hate that. I hate's a strong word. I love that pick by you because we're on the same page. That's not somebody I would use my first round pick on, without a doubt.
Yeah, everyone loves the shooting stroke and everything like that. And really, this is just what I don't love his game in general. I don't love his dribbling, his handle, his ability to make shots. Other than that, I feel like he's going to have to be like a spot up shooter type guy. His high end, I feel like he could be like Gary Trent if he hit his stuff, if he hit his high end. but that's asking a lot from a guy. And Gary Trent even went like in the early 20s like that. Just
Yep.
as a prospect, AJ Griffin really worries me. You're asking him to do a lot like that.
Yep.
How do you feel about Sohan from Baylor? I think he's going to get overdrafted, but I think he's on defense. He's easily the best defender in this draft. He can actually guard 1 to 5 because he's really athletic and has the foot speed and everything. I think he's just going to be overdrafted because somehow the way this draft laid out, he might go 7 or 8, and in reality, he should probably go like 13 or 14.
Dude, Sohan is so compelling to me because you're right. By far, and I'm so glad you said this because now I know you really have been watching these guys. He is by far the best defender in this draft, dude. He is incredible on defense. He is Draymond Green type defense I'm talking about. Like, that's what he has the potential to be. Like, where people will use him in a way where he will guard all 5, like that type of 5, small 5 type player that will guard all 5 positions and play elite defense. If he develops a jump shot, he is an all-star. He is an all-star. The issue is I don't think he'll be able to develop a jump shot because his offense is a little off. But he's a playmaker. He knows how to pass. He can play defense. He has a great feel for the game. He will be overdrafted a bit because of that defensive prowess, but I actually think he could be a very special player if he goes to a team that utilizes him that way. If he goes to a team that's expecting him to score 15, 18, 20 points a game, that's an issue. He needs to go to a team, which is why Draymond, and then people are going to think I'm ragging on Draymond. Draymond is great, but the reason why he's really, really great, Hall of Fame great, is because he doesn't have that pressure of scoring on the Warriors. He needs to go to an exact spot like that where he doesn't have that pressure. He can just defend, and if the offense comes, it comes.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. That's how I saw him right there. The last one, Dyson Daniels, intrigues me. I think he can be like I think he needs to go a little lower as well and develop more of an offensive game. But you can see the offensive game coming from him at some point. He's just got a little more work to do than a Mathurin, in my opinion, who's already a lot more polished offensively. But I definitely like Dyson Daniels' upside as a good scorer, especially later in the lottery. That's the other one I liked right there.
He definitely has a scorer feel to him. He has someone that just came to my head because when I watched him play a lot in the finals, he has a Derek White type feel to me. Like I think he could score even more than like that. I want to get back to Benedict Mathurin here because I wanted to comment on him. Dude, Benedict Mathurin is so fun. To me, he is prime Victor Oladipo scoring wise. Like I think he is like a walking bucket, and people forget Victor Oladipo was this before all the injuries happened. Like he even, and this is going to get outrageously taked, but he has like a Damian Lillard type vibe to him in terms of scoring. Like he really can score like that, bro. He can shoot the 3. He can slither his way to the basket. He's got to develop more, but I love that you said he's your favorite guy outside those top 5 because I love Benedict Mathurin. I think that he is going to, depending on where he goes, excel. Now, defensively, he's got some issues. He's not that good. He's got to work on the defense side of the ball. There's no doubt about that. But he's 6'5", 205 pounds. Like he's a big dude. Like he can hold his weight out there, and he is so fun. He's going to be a really good scorer. There's one other guy I want to get to here that people in the U.S. aren't going to really watch more, and it's I always pronounce his name right. It's Osman Dieng out of New Zealand. Okay,
it's Jang. Like, well, I think
yes, you're right, Jang. Yeah, Jang. I'm glad you corrected me on this. Jang, to me, if everything goes right, and this is a big if, but that's what we're talking about when we're talking prospects, guys. We're talking if they go to the right spot, they get developed, all that stuff. Jang is has one of the highest upsides in all of this draft because of his blend of shot creation, size, defense, and just ability to score. And if all of that comes together, Jang has Brandon Ingram feels to me. Like he can score like Brandon Ingram if all of that comes together. 6'10", 200 pounds, 19 years old, again, a big if, guys, because these players that come over from New Zealand and stuff like that, they really have to get into the right spot and they have to have time to develop and all that stuff. But we're talking about prospects. If prospects can come out, if they can work, Brandon Ingram, he has that type of limit scoring the ball if everything goes well. Okay, I don't that will be the fascinating part. We'll see what happens with it there. There's one other guy I wanted to bring up. Where did I put him here? Oh yeah. EJ Liddell out of Ohio State. A lot of people probably watched him play at Ohio State. He played in a lot of big-time games in Ohio State. EJ Liddell is one of those guys that could go in the 20s. He'd go in the 18, 19, 15, 16, 17. I don't think he goes lottery. He goes after the lottery. One of those guys that we look back in 2-3 years from now and say, how did this guy not go in the lottery? And the reason I say that is he is an older player. He went back to school to improve as a shooter and a perimeter defender, which he has done both. All right. And now he is a shot blocker at 6'6". He is a hustle, all type of guy. He's an on-ball defender, and he finally got down his jump shot from the perimeter. He is a guy that I'm telling you, if things connect, he could be a guy that, especially because these are the type of guys that are going to go to good teams because they're going to go farther down, that we could be sitting here 2-3 years from now saying, man, this guy really has got it all. How did we miss him in the draft? So I just want to bring up EJ Liddell. He's an older player, which I like that, and he has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of Liddell, so I can't really super comment on that. I know he did improve his jump shot, though, from year to year. I watched him play at Ohio State. I just haven't really broke down film on him.
Yeah.
I do like Jang, as you said. I love the upside pick on that. That's another really have to trust your development team and give him a year or two for sure. I want you to talk about Nicola Yovich because I didn't really watch him a lot, but I want the Nuggets to pick him so bad so that they have Nikola Jokic and Yovich. That'd just be hilarious to me. I know he's a solid player as well, so I wanted to give you the chance to break him down before we moved on to some other things right quick.
Yeah, he's a solid player to me. He's got a lot of Danilo Gallinari to him. That's kind of who I thought of when I watched him play. He's a playmaker. Like he's one of those guys that comes from overseas that already knows how to handle the ball really well. People are going to talk about him because of the Jokic thing. It's Yovich, not Jokic, but he is a guy that can just throw out the balls and play because he's such a good playmaker. There's a lot of things he's got to work on. He's not a great defender. He had the reason why people might actually say he's a little Jokic is because other than his name is because he actually can pass really, really well. Not Jokic level passing, but he can pass really, really well. Change of pace guy, scoring type guy, just a lot of work on. But he's fun, man. He's a 19-year-old kid. He can shoot. He can get to the rim. I'm not like overly in love with him, but he has such good playmaking skills. Things could connect because he's 6'10" if everything goes right. We'll see.
Yeah. Just wanted you to bring that up right quick.
No, I like that you brought that up. That's funny. So we can move on here. There's a couple guys like you know Jalen Duran out of Memphis. He was supposed to be a really good prospect. He didn't have that great of a year. If things go well for him, like if I was Charlotte, I would take him over. What was the guy you said, Max? Or AJ Griffin. I would take him over AJ Griffin. I like Jalen Durant offensively better. He's a great shot blocker. He can leap into a really good player. And then one other guy I want to point out till we move, Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin. He's a bucket-getting guard who literally thrives in the mid-range. He doesn't. The reason why people aren't going to talk about it as much is because he doesn't have that shiny three-point shot, but he is a mid-range bucket getter that will play excellent defense. He's just got to improve his outside shot. So that's one other guy to watch as we go here into Thursday night. Let's move on here. Let's break down what we just saw with the Warriors real quick and then end the show on Kyrie Irving. Shawn, we talked about it. You actually thought that the Warriors were going to close it out in 6. They did. I thought Boston was going to come back and make it a game 7 at least. But Jason Tatum was terrible. I hate to knock him because it's his first finals, but he was awful. Marcus Smart was awful. and the Warriors stepped up and won. You called it on that game there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a game six Clay game. It wasn't at all. Clay was really off. But really, what happened was the Warriors just came in with we're going to win this game no matter what. This is going to be it. Curry actually showed up big time. I know you thought Curry was going to have a down game, and I wasn't really expecting the game that he had. But Curry came and showed out. He wanted his MVP. He wanted his ring. They came and took care of business. Draymond played really well after he had such an up and down series to start with. And the bench guys, the Wiggins of the world that is now going to get his money and his contract, and Jordan Poole, who I'm still going to be the biggest Jordan Poole hater you see because I don't believe in Jordan Poole like that. That's a take I'm just going to stand behind. But he came out and he played well because, when they get up 8-10, nobody's better than Jordan Poole out there on the court. So he came out, he played his game, and even though Clay didn't have the best game, the Warriors had enough. What you said is right, though. Jason Tatum had an awful game. I'm not going to hold it over his head. We got to see how he goes in the future. He's still 24 years old. But, man, he carried him for so long, and it's just like he just couldn't do it in the finals. Yeah. They kind of got figured out as a team. The Warriors had a plan for them. After they started to really get that game plan going, the Celtics didn't really have a counterpunch, and you just saw that. The turnovers killed them, and it was too much for them to handle, and congrats to the Warriors on their fourth title.
Yeah, look, the Warriors deserved it. They were incredible. You could tell that this title means way more to the Warriors than any other title because it's really the first title for them. And I'm not discrediting any other titles, but the first one they won, Kyrie and Love got hurt. So everyone said the second two they won, they had Kevin Durant after they won 73 games. So everyone said this one, there was nothing you could say about. There was nothing.
Nobody picked them before the season.
Nobody did. Nobody. You couldn't question. You can't question anything. Like they did it with their original team. They did it with guys that they brought in that nobody else in the league wanted. All credit to Curry and to that organization and to Steve Kerr, who is now becoming one of the best coaches in NBA history after what he's now doing as a coach on that team. So congrats to them. It's unfortunate for Boston because Jaylen Brown, I thought, was awesome other than game 5, fourth quarter. He was terrible. Al Horford had a great game 6. Jason Tatum, I would not be shocked if we hear that Jason Tatum's having shoulder surgery in the next couple of weeks. I would not be shocked if he's hurt. Look, I'm not giving him excuses, but something was off. He already had that shoulder injury. I would not be shocked if he had some rotator cuff or something messed up there, and that comes out in a little bit. We'll see. But Boston has some decisions to make. Do they really want to roll with Marcus Smart again? I know he's a great defender. He offensively is anemic. They've got some decisions they got to make, but moving forward, both teams will be very interesting. Let's move on to a more interesting storyline. Because Kyrie Irving up to Kyrie Irving things once again. And this is where one thing we're going to finish off here before we end here. And me and Shawn have different perspectives on this. So I'll let you go first, Shawn. Explain, what are your thoughts on Kyrie Irving doing this? Is it a shock to you at all? And why do you think he's doing this? And you think it's him doing this?
So I think it's two. I think it's Kyrie and I think it's Clutch because the report came from Shams. And if you kind of follow NBA Twitter, you either get Woj or Shams reporting things. Shams kind of with Clutch, that group. So whenever Shams reports things, I feel like it's a Clutch leaning group, like Clutch wants it out there, and that it's more of a player-driven thing where Woj is so locked into a lot of organizations that Woj gets a lot of stuff from org. So that's me following reporting that I kind of feel like that's the case, as well as I think Kyrie's unhappy with the contract talks. I think the Nets are standing by their we don't want to give you this max money type of thing. Yeah. And I think Kyrie's kind of upset about that. So I think Kyrie's trying to get as many other options out there as he can to still get his money and maybe go play somewhere and put pressure on the Nets. So I do feel like this is more of a Kyrie thing. And I could see Clutch being involved as well because I do think as much as people want to talk about AD's untouchable, I don't necessarily know that LeBron is completely okay with that, and AD's a Clutch client, so I think they'd be okay with having AD go over to the Nets with KD and still be in a good situation, and then reunite that Kyrie LeBron thing, like the rumors have said. I think that's way more difficult than people do want to admit. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think it's more of a 3-4% chance of it happening, but I do feel like it's more of the Clutch side stirring talks up, and then Kyrie obviously wanting his deal and maybe trying to get some suitors outside of the Nets to try to get some of the leverage that he doesn't really have right now.
Yeah, so I think you bring up a fascinating point about Shams because you're right about that. I believe though that this is the Nets bringing this up, and this is why. And I think a lot of it is because of what you said. I think that the Nets are sick of this. I think the Nets were having contract talks with him, and I think that he said, "I want the max." And I want a long-term extension, not a 1 year, not a 2 year. I want like a 4 or 5 year extension. And I think the Nets are saying, hell no, we're not doing that right now. We're not doing that. And I think the Nets got to the point where they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw out this fishing line. And we're going to drop this news here just to see if something bites. You never know. A lot of people are down on Kyrie. A lot of organizations are down on Kyrie. What if some organization offers up something that legitimately will make our team better? Someone that multiple people that will be there throughout the whole time, throughout the whole season with KD. I think the Nets are putting this out there. I think that's why Kyrie tweeted that wire thing of him just like smiling and all that stuff from the wire. I think that this is the Nets genuinely saying, we're not playing this crap, and we're showing you it by just throwing this out here. Maybe nothing ends up happening, which I don't think anything does happen. I think he comes back to the Nets, but I think that the Nets threw this out, which brings me to my next point here. If it is true that the Nets threw it out, I believe that they talked to KD about it before they did it. And I believe they said to KD exactly what I'm saying right now. We're not going to trade him. We're not saying we're going to trade him. But why not just see what we could get? Because what if it is something that could help you, KD? Do you think Anthony Davis would make the Nets better? Because I do. Anthony Davis and KD together, I think that's really, really hard to beat. And you already have your point guard now in Simmons if everything's good with him. Like, what if some type of... And I think KD said, all right, man, throw it out there. We're not trading him or anything. Just see what happens. And I think the Nets threw it out there because I don't see Kyrie. Like, you're right about Shams and the Clutch and all that. The thing is, though, Kyrie's not a Clutch agent. And Kyrie doesn't talk. Kyrie calls the media pawns. He doesn't talk to ESPN. He doesn't talk to Shams. He doesn't talk to any of these people. Maybe he's talking to LeBron, and LeBron's telling Clutch. I could see that. That could totally be it. Maybe that is the case. But other than that, I just don't see Kyrie spreading this type of news to anybody because it seems like he doesn't talk to anyone. That's why I think it's the Nets. I think that this is all the Nets letting Kyrie know, you're not running this show, bro. You're not doing any of this anymore. We're going to figure this out, whether it's having you here or not. But we're going to, and the interesting part will be, do they actually stand pat? Will they actually end up not giving him a multi-year contract? If KD is okay with it, then they will. If KD ends up saying, no, you give him that contract, then they're going to give him the contract.
Okay, so do you have a wild trade scenario? Because that's what everyone's doing right now.
Yeah.
Can you give me your wildest trade scenario? I know we don't have the time to match salaries, but at least try to get it close. Do you have the wildest Kyrie trade scenario?
So this is mine, and I don't even think that this is that wild. I think that this is legitimately could happen, maybe. And I actually tweeted this out, and Pacers fans got up my damn ass about this. I had like 8 different Pacers fans come at me in this shit.
By the way, Indianapolis, some of our best videos were Colts videos. Indianapolis supports the pod.
I love it. I love it.
Straight up to Indiana, we need to talk about your Pacers and your Colts more because y'all support the pod, man. Shout out to Indianapolis.
Dude, put Pacers in the title of this and Kyrie to the Pacers, and I guarantee you, hella people want, because they're sports fans out there, man. Those Indianapolis fans are sports fans. And I tweeted this out at Kayvon_sports. You can go look at it. These Pacers fans got all up my ass about this. And I get why. The trade was the Nets get Miles Turner, Malcolm Brogdon, and O'Shea Brissett. So they get their rim protector. They get a point guard to replace Kyrie. And they would probably have, if not the best, they would probably have one of the best defensive backcourts in the game in Malcolm Brogdon and Ben Simmons. And O'Shea Brissett's a up-and-coming small forward that can do some things. The Nets get those three guys. The Lakers get Kyrie Irving. And the Pacers get Russell Westbrook, 2023 unprotected Nets first-round pick, which comes from the Harden trade, the 2027 first-round pick from the Lakers, and Talon Horton-Tucker. Now, Pacers fans, I had Nets fans say, I like it. Lakers fans, they didn't comment, but I'm guessing they like it. Pacers fans said, hell no. Why in the hell would we bring in Westbrook? And I get that. My whole point about the Pacers is this. The Pacers are full to the limit of salary cap. I think they have like $1 million in salary cap, and they're a bad team. They've got a bunch of big contracts on that team. They've got to accept the fact that they're in a rebuild. And to be in a rebuild, you've got to move these players off your roster, bring in multiple first-round picks, and start the rebuild with really interesting, intriguing guys like Halliburton, Durate. I mean, those are like fun guys to build around. You still will have Buddy Hield there, but Pacers fans hate the idea of bringing Westbrook in, which would only be for 1 year. That's it. It'd be 1 year, he's gone, or you could bring him in for 6 months and flip him at the deadline for more assets. Like those type of things could happen, but they don't like it. But to me, I actually think that's a realistic trade if the Pacers were on board. I think the Nets and Lakers would definitely be on board.
Yeah, I think the Nets would want a little more, to be honest. I do think that if you're going to send Kyrie away, I feel like to sell that to KD, because KD's obviously going to be on this decision-making process. I think he's going to want a star back, and that's kind of where that rub is going to show up from. So I think that's why a lot of people throw AD out there, because you got to kind of throw in a star on that. And Pacer fans, they're not going to like Westbrook for sure, because I don't think they want him to rub off on Halliburton. But as a Kings fan, Halliburton's not going to just become that type of player, man.
No, he's not.
Halliburton's going to get people involved. That's how Halliburton plays. Yeah. But yeah, so the Pacers is a little more shaky because you got to deal with Westbrook for a year, and maybe they feel like they're getting the short end of the stick. But I understand where you're coming from on that. Let me give you the wildest scenario possible. It's not going to happen, but this is just a crazy one, and it's based off Brad Beal's tweets. His decision is going to be wild. So I don't know exactly if the salaries match up, but it's going to be close. So this is called two new super teams, basically. It's a three-teamer, right? Okay. Kyrie goes to the Lakers, right? The Lakers give up their 27 unprotected to the Wizards. The Wizards send Beal to the Nets. The Nets give all those picks that you're talking about as well. And Westbrook goes to the Wizards, where you match those three salaries after Beal signs his deal. And you do that, maybe you throw in a few all-shoot players here and there. But the Wizards get all those unprotected picks from the Lakers and the Nets. The Nets get their star shooter, so you have Simmons, a shooter, and Beal and Duran out there. The Lakers get Kyrie to go with AD and LeBron and try to get LeBron to the finish line there, where he doesn't have to do as much. You have two new super teams for the league, and the Wizards get what they need, which is a bunch of cap flexibility because Westbrook will be on it expiring. They get a bunch of unprotected picks from two franchises that, let's face it, they're a little older, and when those picks come around, they'll kind of have already had people move on. And I feel like you could probably send Caldwell Pope to maybe even Boston with their trade exception, and you can start shipping your players off. They've already talked about maybe going up to get Ivy. Maybe they throw in their better players to go get Ivy with their pick with a flip-flop, maybe at 4 or 5. So you could see them maneuvering around, maybe taking Ivy, be bad for a little bit to start with, and they have all those picks in the future. I could see the Wizards wanting to reset their franchise, especially if Bill has already told them that he'd be gone. And I think the salaries would be close because Westbrook's deal is so high right now. Kyrie and Beal should match up very similarly if they sign and trade, because I think they're both the same max level right now. I'm not sure. It's very close. But then that would work out that way, and you'd have two new super teams, both kind of old, both kind of going for it, and the Wizards would get their rebuild.
I think that's awesome. I really like
It's
that.
not going to happen, but
The only thing I think is same like the Pacers. I think the Wizards fans aren't going to like it. I'm with you on it. That's my whole thinking about the Pacers as well. You have to start the rebuild. To start the rebuild, you have to get multiple picks. That's how a rebuild starts. And you have to get expired. You have to get these contracts off your books. I just think they're going to want more young players. But if I actually think that's like legit. I don't think it happens either, but I like it. And also, the one thing about the Westbrook thing is at least you're still going to have someone to sell tickets. Yes, Westbrook had a really bad year last year, but Westbrook by himself is entertaining. And he'll sell tickets. It's 1 year. He'll be fun, lighthearted, all that stuff, and he'll be gone. I like it. I think it's fascinating.
yeah, I just thought that'd be pretty funny. That'd be the wildest thing I could come up with right there, just because the salaries have to match, so it's kind of hard. But those would be the max dudes, and then they wouldn't even be giving away their second star to get them. So I think that'd be interesting too for the NBA. But I don't know. That's a wild one.
I think another really just quickly because we got to get out of here. Another weird, wild one that I would watch for. Straight up, Kyrie Irving for Chris Paul.
That'd be.
I would watch it. Listen, Chris Paul, I think Kevin Durant would want. And I think the Suns might think Kyrie Irving could be the guy to get us over. Chris Paul's great and all that stuff, but the playoffs, there comes a flat line. If Kyrie stays healthy, actually does his thing, he's shown up in the playoffs. Again, it would be a lot. It would be tough to happen. I would not be shocked to see Kyrie go to the Suns. I wouldn't be shocked to see Kyrie go to the Mavs, Jalen Brunson go, and they would need more. They wouldn't want that. There's a couple of things that I would watch there.
Yeah, the other one I'd watch is Dame going to the Nets. I feel like out of Dame would probably stay loyal, especially this year. I feel like if the one person in the league that called him would be KD, because I feel like they're both just kind of basketball mentality guys.
Yeah.
Like that's what they care about. So that'd be the other one.
But
I don't know how that salary match and what the trade would be to constitute that. So that's the
talk about KD finally getting his own chip. You get Dame Lillard, you're close. Mm-hmm. If they get Dame Lillard, they are close. That's for sure. That'll be fascinating. This is the Money Down Pod. That is Shawn White. Give him a follow at Dumpster Fire Fan. Myself at Kayvon_sports. This was a long one today, fellas. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Follow us on Twitter at Money Down Pod. If you are watching on YouTube, comment below, like, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts. If you're listening on podcast form, we greatly appreciate it. Give us a 5-star review and a comment there as well. Let us know your thoughts on the top prospects on Kyrie Irving. Let us know who you want your team to take in the NBA draft coming up on Thursday. We will talk to you later on this week. Have a good one.